Hello, everybody. Today is Tuesday, June 22nd. We have a couple of articles we're going to go over today. Just looking for the truth. Where's the truth? And at 1:17 p.m. this afternoon, I noticed that we had this one down. And here's the details. Whoops, went too far. Here's the details on that. Now, when I just checked now, it's not happening at this time, and it is now almost 7 p.m. And this was posted today. Iran seized 7,000 cryptocurrency mining machines in an abandoned factory. And this was posted by Peppy Lives Matter. Jenna Griswold says that Colorado is the safest place to cast a ballot, and yet she seems terrified of a forensic audit. Can you see the fear in her eyes? And let's watch her melt down.
Oh, good morning, Allie. Thank you for having me on. And the answer to your question is very simple: through state law and rulemaking. Here in Colorado, we're considered the safest state in which to cast a ballot, in no small part because we already do a risk-limiting audit. That's the premier type of election audit. It was already conducted on the 2020 election. And what that audit shows us in a secure way is that the election results are correct. But what we're seeing across the nation, starting in Arizona, where Republicans hired a partisan firm with no experience to do the sham audit, are these calls for fake forensic audits, all in an intent to help justify voter suppression and spread the big lie. So we have to push back against those attacks, which are, frankly, attacks on democracy.
And posted on the Arizona Informer channel, they went about Katie Hobbs. And in April, what she had to say. And then in May, and now in June. Nothing consistent there. And from Arizona Red Roots posted, Arizona audit finals enters final week. Some states are scheduling repeat visits to Arizona. Not every state wants to replicate Arizona exactly, but may consider some scaled version of it. Both Wisconsin and Pennsylvania have similar legislative makeup as AZ and have the ability to issue legislative subpoenas. Now let's take a look at the video.
Good morning, Christina. So how's the progress in Arizona now, and how is the audit still scheduled to complete this week?
Hey, Alicia, great to be with you. Yes, I did confirm with the auditors this morning that they are still on track to be completed with the scanning and paper examination portion of this audit by June 26th, this coming weekend. And if we take a quick look at the floor, it confirms what they're telling us. We can look back over to the boxes on the far side of the room over here. Those are all of the boxes that need to still be scanned. Those are the only remaining boxes left to be scanned. If we look down here, the boxes close to the press box, those are all of the boxes that have been completed, both counted and scanned, and are done. And this holding cage right here actually is so full. They are starting, if you go back over to the other side, they are actually starting to hold some of them in the far side chain link fence there. That's where they were holding the ballots that needed to be counted, but since they've counted all of them and gone through that, they are now holding some of the completed ones in there. So there really is just a small number of ballots left to be scanned, and the auditors do expect for that to be done by the weekend.
All right, so what about the other states? Are other states still expressing interest in the audit?
Yeah, absolutely. Certainly there was a big push the last week that they were doing the counting portion, but Indiana came out. Washington State has sent another delegation that will be out here today to take a look. So we're starting to see some of the same states that have gone back and started these conversations with their colleagues in their home states. Their colleagues now want to come out and see what's taking place. So we do have another delegation from Washington State out here. There have been, I believe, 3 delegations from Georgia. So there have been a handful of states that are repeating coming out to take a closer look because these states are considering what they're doing here in Arizona, and they are taking a closer look to possibly replicate either Arizona or something like this. Now, certainly not every state needs to do the scale of audit that they're doing out here in Arizona. Some might only want to do a paper examination or a simple hand recount, or they might want to take portions of it, but certainly getting a look at this mammoth task that Arizona has undertaken helps give them ideas and sort through some of the things that they can do in their own states to help election integrity. So it's not that every state that comes out wants to replicate Arizona exactly, although they certainly could, but some just want to see how the process is going, what they're doing, and if there's anything from what's happening here that they can take back to their home states that could possibly have an impact on election integrity in their state.
Okay, so do you think we'll see other states start to take action based on what they're learning in Arizona?
I do. I think they will. I've heard a lot coming out of Pennsylvania that they are in talks to try to consider something like what's happened in Arizona or some scaled version of it. The same in Wisconsin. I would anticipate hearing something coming out of Wisconsin in the next few days or weeks. Several of those lawmakers came out, took a closer look. I know that their constituents have been asking them to replicate something to the extent of Arizona. So both Wisconsin and Pennsylvania have a very similar legislative makeup here as Arizona. So they certainly have the ability to replicate this or do something of a scaled version here in Arizona through the same methodology, through the legislative subpoena process. That's how they did it out here in Arizona, and because their legislators are of a similar makeup, they have the ability to do that there. So it's interesting to note that some of the roadblocks could be Republicans, actually, because they are Republican legislatures. So if you would like to see Wisconsin or Pennsylvania and you're one of their constituents, reach out to your legislator and let them know that you want to see an audit, some version of an audit in their state.
All right, our Christina Bob live for us in Phoenix, Arizona. Thank you, Christina.
And this is posted by Canola the Great. It says, in 2008, although Dominion was in many counties in New York and had an insignificant presence in Wisconsin, it had no presence in the rest of the U.S. Dominion built up its presence in 2012, increased it in 2016, and increased it further in 2020. And here's a view of the chart. And Project Veritas posted today about April Moss, threatened with termination by CBS 62.
Hey, Chuck.
So I saw what you did on the air yesterday.
Yes.
you may get terminated for that. Are you aware of that?
Yes, I am.
All right, so you're okay with that then?
I understand if CBS decides to let me go. I do understand that.
Why would you do that? You know, basically, that's the most selfish thing I've ever seen in 36 years working there, without even a close second. Because you don't give a crap about anybody else, you know, and like if you get terminated, which you might, and then the burden is going to place on other people, you couldn't care less. It's just all about April Moss.
Well, that's
very, very unfortunate. I mean, I know we've had some talks and, you know, and all of that, but I didn't know that you were that kind of person.
I'm not that kind of person.
You are, April. You are. You're all about April, and that's it. I'm April, and here's my stance. Regardless of the burden this is going to put on anybody else.
Well, I've tried to go through all of the direct channels that...
What do you think going on the air and getting fired is going to do? Do you think that's going to change their rules?
Well, it's not just CBS, but it's a lot of organizations and corporations across the country that are enforcing unfair standards on people.
I can't believe you did that. I just can't believe it. I mean, we had some chats offline and, you know, and some texts, you know, but to go on the air and just blatantly disregard any protocols, and again, place all of this burden on other people. I mean, I'm going to recommend that you get terminated. I'm going to recommend that. I'm not going to stand up for you, because that was as blatant as anything I've ever seen.
Okay, but I've gone through all the natural channels with HR. I've sent them documentation stating that this is against federal law.
I understand that. I saw all that email. So do you think that going on the air and saying something and getting fired is going to change anything? I mean, what could you possibly have thought would effect that would have other than you getting fired?
I was hoping that they would understand and realize that that enforcing these policies on people that are against federal law is not okay.
So you're going to go on there and say that, and you think that they're going to say, oh, you know what, she's right. We're going to go ahead and change those now because she said it on the air. You really thought that?
I was hoping there would be a change.
No,
because
not going to. The only change is going to be, on our weekend weather person. That's the only change.
Okay.
PA State Senator Dave Argyle says he supports an audit, but why is he waiting to take action? He oversees elections in Pennsylvania, and he favors an Arizona-style audit. Argyle must pick up his feet and issue the subpoenas. He insists it was secure. He's now under pressure by Donald Trump to take action. And he said it's now a very real possibility. And he is considering subpoenas for ballot information and which jurisdictions to send them. And this is not the first time that Argyle has publicly voiced support for a full forensic audit in Pennsylvania. On June 6th, he said so. And he has the power to do this. But he seems to have been all talk and no action. State Senator Doug Manciano has been leading the charge since he came back to Pennsylvania after his tour of the audit. Peter Daszak, behind the research and development of the China coronavirus, is quietly removed from UN investigation of COVID-19 origin. He was involved in research and development in the US and China, is finally recognized for his past efforts. The WHO hired him even though he was involved in the origins. The Lancet did too. In February, it was reported that from 2019 that was uncovered where he admits that the Wuhan lab was involved in manipulating the coronavirus before the pandemic was first reported. Video taken just days before the start of the pandemic shows a World Health Organization inspector discuss the testing of modified coronaviruses on human cells and humanized mice in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, just weeks before the first cases were announced. So at the 28:10 mark of the interview is where he states where it originated from. And another meltdown by Arizona Katie Hobbs. They know it's coming. And Colorado mayor bans Pledge of Allegiance at board meetings and then gets triggered after members recite it anyway and then threatens to remove them. And Ivory Hecker got this letter. making it official that she's fired from Fox. And she states, "This letter showed up at my door, making my termination official. Corrupt Fox executives are circling their wagons to cover each other's dirt while firing journalists who refuse to worship a corporate news narrative, who refuse to be forced away from the principles of journalism. The principles of journalism state that our first loyalty is to the citizen and our first obligation is to the truth. The goal of the journalist is to provide the public with the information they need to be free and self-governing. That's what my journalism school degree taught." And this was posted by Disclosed TV today. This website has been seized. The domain presstv.com has been seized by the United States government in accordance with the seizure warrant issued pursuant to 18 U.S.C. So, wow. Iran. The details. The .com domain name of Iran's Press TV news website has been seized by the U.S. government. Confirmed by Press TV Now on that. Looks like multiple .com and .net domains linked to Iranian websites were seized, including the IRGC affiliates. Please be aware that DNS updates like these can take up to 24 hours to be reflected worldwide. That's so true, sometimes more. Let's take a look at that Twitter. Yes, that was the source of this. In what seems to be a coordinated action, a similar message appears on the websites of Iranian and regional television networks that claim the domains of the websites have been seized by the United States government. So this was posted in response to that post, suggesting this was a result of Iran's sanctions from the U.S. 6 rounds of talks. And this little video was posted today by Dan Scavino, United States Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, talking about his club. Video next.
Expressed concerns about the membership of the all-white Bailey's Beach Club, said that you hoped it would become more diverse. Now, your family's been members, your wife is one of the largest shareholders. Has there been any traction in that? Are there any minority members of the club now?
I think the people who are running the place are still working on that, and I'm sorry it hasn't happened yet.
Do you have concerns in 2021? I mean, obviously, it's been 4 years. You had remarks on the floor following the deaths of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd saying, hoping to root out systemic racism in the country. Your thoughts on an elite, all-white, wealthy club, again, in this day and age? Should these clubs continue to exist?
It's a long tradition in Rhode Island, and there are many of them. And I think we just need to work our way through the issues. Thank you.
Okay.
And this was posted by Praying Medic. Michigan State Rep Steve Kerr introduced a bill that would provide $2.5 million to fund an Arpesian audit the state's 2020 election. Let's see the video. After reviewing the video, I see that it will not pass the censorship on YouTube. So if you want to see the full version, take a look on the Rumble. Go with kindness and love, and we'll see you tomorrow on another podcast.